Howdy, my name is Rex Mortem, and I've always watched these types of, Reddit content on YouTube, and I've always wanted to try my hand at it as well, but I've never actually gone and done that. So this is my attempt today to do that and kind of enter into that sort of content type. Hopefully, I do everything correctly here. If I don't, feel free to let me know, as I want to do my best to improve and do this correctly and, in a way that's good. The beginning post we have is from r/bestof updates. It was originally posted to r/relationship advice by user I Cut Waffles. The title being, "My brother, 18, has been poisoning my girlfriend for the past 3 years." Now, let's jump into the post and see what all that's about. My girlfriend has always been allergic to lactose, very severely, to the point where if she had any traces in her food, she would basically shit herself on the spot ever since she was a kid. My brother and I have always been on good terms, and always hung out together until 3 years ago when I met my girlfriend. He started getting more distant and mean towards me, talking about how she's ruining our broship and taking me away from our family and him. I told him he was crazy and didn't think too much of it until recently. Going back to 3 years ago when I introduced Katie to my parents, he was livid. I moved out about 6 months later because I was tired of his constant bitching about her coming over to sleep and hang out. Ever since, we would have family dinners at my parents' every month on Sundays. My family is Italian, so we eat a lot of pasta and sauce. Relevant. My parents make always... Oh, typo on their part. My parents always made 2 separate meals ever since they met her. One with no milk / lactose free, milk for Katie, and one for the rest of us. She never had any issues unless there was an accidental cross-contamination, which happened every so often. The problem was every month. At those dinners, she was getting sick to the point of rushing to the bathroom and having excruciating diarrhea for an hour with severe cramps. Every single time. At one point, I started to refuse to go. My parents kept insisting, so I gave it another try. It was fine for a few months, then it started yet again. This goes on and off for 2.5 years. I got really mad last week and got up in the middle of dinner and said to my parents, "Something is up. Someone is messing with Katie's food." My parents go quiet and ask me why I would say that. My brother turns rather pale and stops smiling. I knew it was him. I confronted him, and he started crying, saying he felt he had to get payback for her stealing away his big brother, that it wasn't fair. He said he was adding milk to the batch made for her, and he had no regrets. I was absolutely livid. Katie was as well. She excused herself and asked me to drive her back to our place. It's been 3 months, and she got contact with my parents. Katie refuses to talk to them anymore because they should have had my brother in check and given him a worse punishment. He let a guy talk and a smack behind the head, and that was it. And said she can't believe I didn't stop talking to them as well. My parents, on the other hand, are mad that we let this little incident break our relationship. My girlfriend says if I keep contacting them and insisting she forgives my brother, she's going to leave me. I love this girl to death. We've got plans to buy a house eventually and have kids. On the other hand, I love my parents too, but I can't have both anymore. What should I do? TLDR. My brother was adding milk to the pasta dishes when my girlfriend, who was lactose intolerant, came over to get her sick as revenge for ruining my relationship with him. So that was the original base story. And there is an update. I am going to read this all in one long form, including the update, and then I will get into my thoughts on the matter. So, here's the update. TLDR, my brother was adding milk to the sauce and the pasta dishes and making my girlfriend have allergic reactions. I've read over 200 comments from you guys, and it just validated my mind that my family is fucked up. I contacted my mom and confronted her about why she would defend my idiotic brother, and she basically said he was young and stupid. I told her a few of your comments and what Katie could press charges and she broke down crying, saying he won't do it again. Hell no, he won't, because I told her I decided to cut them off for good. Katie was actually relieved when I told her I was on her side and cut them off. Basically, she was going to dump me for being an idiot who couldn't support his girlfriend for 3 years when she was basically being tortured for fun. I'm just glad she didn't, and that we're going through this together. Thank you guys for every comment, even the ones calling me out for being an idiot, trying to make Katie forgive my brother for the horrible things he did. When you're faced with this kind of dilemma, you've been close to your family for over 20 years, you get blindsided. So me and Katie cut them out starting today, and we plan to move to the USA next year. We always wanted to live there and finally be far away from them. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, this update was on August 22nd of 2019, which was the next day, with the original post coming August 29th, 2019. That doesn't square. Original post August 29th, 2019. Okay. So there is also a little bit more of a tiny updates that later happened in the comments where OP goes on to say the comments really hit him hard. Sometimes seeing someone else's perspective opens up your eyes. Also goes on to say that they never moved to the USA, but they are still no contact. And further goes on to say that they have kept no contact, that it screwed up their family dynamic, that they have gotten married to their girlfriend, and that it's been hard, but they have no more information on the brother or the family, as although the mother kept trying to contact them, he cut contact and blocked her, so they won't know. So that is the story as it is. Next, we'll get into my opinion on the matter. Contrary to what I've seen most people say on this post and what most comments will say, where they are completely dogpiling on the brother and the parents, and not really talking about OP or the girlfriend, I do want to point something out. This happened for 2.5 years, and while yes, it does say that they stopped going and then it wasn't a problem for a couple months, the fact that it was this reoccurring thing frequently, you stopped, you came back, and then it started up again, should have been enough to pull the red flag of having this conversation sooner and in a better manner than the spontaneous gets up and starts berating his brother. I also feel like there should have been some advocacy from the girlfriend herself, sort of mentioning this. It doesn't quite say if the girlfriend herself ever really discussed this with OP or with OP's family. The fact that she was getting severely sick every single time. I just want to say that there should be some basis for taking responsibility of this being over such a long period of time and seemingly nothing being done. Doesn't seem to be anything that was tried to be done to mediate this thing. Like, there doesn't seem to be this conversation where hey, I like these. I know you like when we come over for these Sunday dinners, but it's really making my girlfriend really sick every single time. I know you say you make 2 batches, but something is clearly going on. You need to be more attentive. Maybe can I sit in the kitchen and watch you cook it just to make sure? Or can we try this? Maybe can we try getting takeout? Maybe there's a decent Italian place, and then the girlfriend can order from someplace else. So you kind of have this multiple meal type of dinner where everyone can get something different from some places out to eat. Of course, that might not be possible. I don't know the financial status of OP or their family, so that might not have been tenable. But it's something that I kind of would like to see. Similar to that is, okay, what if when we come over for these family dinners, I will eat what you won't make, but my girlfriend will bring a plate of her own to warm up so she knows she won't get sick. That is another thing. I haven't seen anything from OP. So I know that there had been previous mitigation efforts made to try and make both his girlfriend more comfortable and to stop this from happening. Outside of when he did his outburst and was like, oh, I know someone's tampering with their food, which is great, but this also went on for 2.5 years, which is a decent chunk of time that I feel like I can't just excuse OP or the girlfriend and say that they don't have a part to play in this either, because 2.5 years is a long time, and even if we take into account the few months, which is 3 maybe, there was no number put on it, that nothing bad happened, it's still pretty interesting, and I think it needs to be, that they need to also be addressed as, what part do they play in it, what efforts were trying made besides just first going to absolutely, I'm not going to be there type of thing, and immediately going to just cutting them off, and not going to the Sunday dinners. What efforts were made to try and solve this problem. Another thing that I really want to point out that again makes me really go in on OP here is in the beginning when he talks about his brother's reaction to him getting a girlfriend, him getting more distant and mean, and talking about how she's ruining our broship, reading directly from the text. And the response from OP and from the family, it seems, or from the very least OP, since we don't really know how the family reacted to this sort of thing, was that he was told he was crazy and that the brother brushed him off. Now, mind you, it says that the brother was 18, but this had started for the past 3 years. So when the story is first kicking off, he is anywhere between 14 and 15, depending upon when in the year this takes place. And so he's right at that really impressionable age of, he's in his probably first or second year of high school. He's either in his first or second. He is getting around the age where he's going to be starting to learn to drive. It's a stage of high hormones, where teens really aren't the most mature or the most like being able to understand things. Like there are times where they need to kind of be explained things. Similar to how you might explain to someone that they're going to be a brother or a sister, I think there should have been some explanation here that the girlfriend wouldn't mean the end of them being brothers, that this, obviously his brother was growing up, moving on with his life, starting his own family potentially, down the road. I wonder if this conversation was had with him, because I wondered if his concerns were taken seriously if we would have gotten to this point. Because it's clear that he didn't quite seem to understand what was going on. He didn't quite seem to understand what it exactly meant that his brother had a girlfriend now, and thusly, obviously, all of the time, his extra time could not be spent with his brother. Because I'm curious how much of the extra time they had together, how much of the extra time was spent with them together. How much did they hang out? Because it says that they were on good terms, that they always hung out together until 3 years ago. So my question is, if that had been treated seriously, would we actually be here if he hadn't have brushed it off as his brother, thinking that this meant he would no longer be able to have his brother? Because the statements made all seem to stem from his brother not understanding what was going on, and that if it had been taken seriously, eventually we probably would have had a very different story, if we had a story at all. Posted here on Reddit. Because it's just it's very indicative that he didn't seem to quite clearly understand what that next stage of life meant. He wasn't prepared for his brother getting a girlfriend. And while, no, it indeed isn't his brother's job to prepare him for such things, it is his parents', his brother's response doesn't help either. If you're fearful of losing your brother and your brother brushes off that concern, it's just going to compound that feeling. And I'm also curious around this time how the girlfriend was introduced into the family. Was there that moment where there was a chance, where they tried to have a chance of the girlfriend being able to form a bond with the brother and really be able to mitigate that feeling that the brother was going to be stolen from him? Or was it just, she's here, get over it, I don't care about your feelings? And also when he talks about he moved out 6 months after introducing his girlfriend to his parents, because he was tired of his brother's constant whining about her coming over to sleep and hang out. Again, I'm curious, is this sleeping over? Is this an overnight kind of thing? Because if it is, again, how frequently was this girlfriend sleeping over? And how frequently were the two of them hanging out, and how much did that reduce the amount of time he was spending with his brother, which, again, would just fuel these things. Now, if we take this into account and we realize that his brother did not understand what was going on, we don't know if the situation was handled properly, and then now suddenly he is left to just sit on his feelings and not have a proper healthy outlet for them, and he's left to just stew on them, and this hate brews towards the girlfriend as he blames her for everything, and eventually him not fully understanding food allergies decides that a way to get back at her to make her feel the pain he's feeling is to tamper with her food and add, of course, milk to it so that she would, be in the bathroom. Because to him, he might have not have seen this as that bad. And, he grows up, and obviously he does this for 3 years. No one apparently confronts him on it, figures it out. No one's on the wiser. There's no talks about this. So for the 3 years, or 2.5 years, or however long he was doing this, obviously he's thinking nothing of it. He's thinking he's getting back, potentially going to be able to save his brother from this girl who he thinks has stolen his brother from him. And so, then of course the event happens where he is confronted, and then he has a breakdown, and he starts crying. And again, he felt that his brother was taken from him, and he was just getting back at the person that took his brother from him, and that he says he has no regrets. And again, it's something I really want to focus on, because if someone is doing this maliciously, if they are a jerk, and they're doing this maliciously, why are they going to break down and cry? If they are this evil, psychopathic mastermind, why are they going to break down and cry? Unless they're a very high-functioning one that knows how to cry on command in order to mimic and get sympathy. Not saying this doesn't exist. I just don't know that this is the brother. There's a lot that we don't know, and that we don't have enough information to go off of in terms of trying to judge the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the brother, and the parents. We just don't have enough information, and I don't trust OP to be a reliable narrator in this sense. He isn't giving enough information for us to truly judge the situation. Because what I got from reading off of how the brother acted was he deeply did not understand what was going on. That there might have been some sort of problems there developmentally. There might have been some developmental problems there where he wasn't fully grasping, one, the full severity of what he was doing, but two, exactly what this next stage of life meant. I am curious if in that time, has the brother himself expressed any sort of romantic interest in another person? Has he been growing up in that way healthily, being able to understand what it means to have a significant other, even in the base state of just being young and having a girlfriend? Like, did he understand these things? Because if he didn't, that plays into his decision to start poisoning the food, and it's something that really needs to be looked at. So, and then we have the parents, and OP says that the parents just gave him a talking to and a smack behind the head, although smack was misread. It's mistyped. It was smulk, which is, so I'm assuming he meant smack. And that was it. Well, my question is, was that it in terms of what happened in his presence? Or did he inquire to his parents what sort of punishment the brother got? Also, how severe was the talk? Because, yes, there absolutely should have been a talk. And it should have been a stern one. And it should have been a lengthy one, where the brother was drilled and made to kind of understand what he did was wrong, while also listening to the brother and reassuring and finally taking his feelings seriously. And therapy should have absolutely been gotten. I don't know if this was the case. Because, again, we have an unreliable narrator not telling us fully if this was just what he saw in front of him, if he ever inquired about the punishment. He just says, oh yeah, all they got was a talk and a smack on the back of the head. Okay, is that because you inquired about what punishment he got and that's what you were told? Or is it because in that moment, that's what you saw? Like, I'm confused on that part. And on the parents' part, while I don't agree with how they handled it, if that's indeed all they did, I can understand it, because I'm sure they felt extremely guilty. One, they never noticed what was going on under their nose. Two, they also didn't notice that their son, their youngest son, was in mental distress and needed help, and was not fully understanding these sort of things, like what it meant that his brother had a girlfriend, and sort of that it didn't mean the end of their relationship. It just meant a sort of change in it, that it wasn't going to be quite as it was, which is still technically could be scary for someone of that age. But that it was still going to be there, and that it would still exist and persist through adulthood. It just might look a little different, and they might not be able to hang out nearly as much. So, like, this should have been explained to them, obviously, prior to now, but, they would be probably imagine feeling very guilty about that. And as parents, they would feel like they needed to shield him from these consequences, potentially. Again, I disagree with that, But I can absolutely see that mindset happening. I do think it's a mindset that needed to be challenged. I don't know if it needed to be challenged with going no contact. I think that the girlfriend overreacted in this case. I think the immediate move to go no contact or I'm going to break up with you was too much. Because again, this is 2.5 years where it is not said that anyone tried to do anything to mitigate this themselves anyway. From all what I can tell, they both just kept going to these Sunday dinners. The girlfriend kept getting sick. Nothing was said. This just kept happening like it was a broken record. And if that's the case, take some responsibility for your own part that you played in this. The fact that you let this happen for 2.5 years without even saying anything beyond, hey, I'm not coming to these dinners anymore. Which, why is the immediate solution always gone to here? Always an immediate cutting out, as if the family is a cancer. Why is there no mitigation efforts happening, especially with how much OP seemed to love his family? Why it wasn't the first thing, like, hey, we're distancing ourselves. We're going to go low contact with you until you fully handle this. Obviously, go no contact with the brother until he's able to show that he is fully either remorseful or he understands what he did and he's a better person. Because obviously, as it stands now, he's not someone you need to be around because it's not their responsibility to make sure he shapes up into a decent person and that his issues are dealt with. But so why not go there? Like, hey, use that as a tool to try to pressure them to further discipline them and take this seriously. Of course, if they sit there and then they don't take the threat seriously, and hey, no, we want to, and they explain themselves, hey, no, we want to protect your brother, we feel guilty and all that. If that's the case and they still don't listen, then yeah, absolutely go into contact with them. But why was there no mediation efforts beforehand? Because there was nothing that we were told before this to indicate that this family was an abusive family or a really bad family. Outside of the brother didn't understand what was going on when his brother got a girlfriend, and therefore acted out on it, and no one seemed to set him straight and correct him and get him the help he needed. But there was nothing to tell us that there had been previous problems. All we know is that there was this one problem, and then that broke it. I don't agree with the parents saying it was little. I think they were, again, trying to minimize things, to minimize the impact, and they were trying to just smooth it over. Again, I don't agree with it, but I can see that sort of mindset. So I think there was a real disservice done to OP in the fact that he listened to his girlfriend and that these mitigation efforts weren't attempted, because I believe there was a relationship to be salvaged there with his family. I just think that the girlfriend got too caught up in what happened to her and wanting retribution that it ended up hurting him in the long run. Because I absolutely think this is a case where the girlfriend kind of poisoned his mind against his family. Because again, we are given no indication that this family is a bad family and that he has had issues with the family beforehand. From all we know, this is a loving family that has been good to him for his entirety of him being alive and growing up and everything. And as you treat the girlfriend kindly, I mean, come on, you don't have to make 2 dinners. You do not have to sit there and make a non-lactose dinner. You can literally just say, hey, I'll order something, or hey, they didn't have to do this. They could say, hey, can you bring your own? Or they could do something else. Like, technically, this wasn't something that they had to do. They did that labor of love, and they sat there and made 2 dishes, one specifically for the girlfriend. So it sounds like, on all accounts, they were pretty decent people and a pretty decent family, with exception to the brother, and again, him not understanding and his feelings not being fully accounted for and handled correctly. And for the girlfriend to immediately go no contact, which is going to validate in the brother's mind. Which again, I'm not excusing what he did. I'm absolutely saying you should have distanced yourself from the brother until he's able to get help and get better. But it's going to validate in his mind what he did, and he's going to have even less remorse, because in the end, she did indeed steal his brother from him, and that he no longer has a brother, and the parents no longer have the son, because there's been that severing of connection. And while absolutely there are times when severing the connection is absolutely warranted, I don't know this is one of those cases. The way the story is written makes me say everyone sucks here. It makes me say that everyone handled this poorly. And again, I'm not trying to discount what happened to the girlfriend. I'm not trying to discount her pain, the hours she spent sitting on the toilet, having massive bad diarrhea. I'm not trying to discount things like a lactose intolerance. I'm really not trying to do any of those things. What I'm trying to say is that as often happens on Reddit, things are boiled down to their most simplistic, and that people don't take the time to try and look at the nuance of situation. And people, at least from what I've seen, people who read Reddit stories tend to also take it as if all readers are reliable narrators, and they will just take the side of OP, unless, of course, they seem to be very obviously the jerk, in such cases such as entitled people stories. And in those cases, they, of course, don't side with OP. They side with whoever OP is against, because then, like, oh yeah, OP is this entitled Karen, and obviously they don't deserve to be sided with. Otherwise, they tend to side with OP and treat the other people as villains. Except on very, very rare occasions where everyone involved is so bad that they can't actually manage to do that, where they can take one side and say, yeah, everyone sucks here. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on this post. Is like, I think everyone sucks. Hopefully, I didn't write a script for this. It's literally just me off the cuff. Hopefully, everyone likes it, and I know I've sort of rambled. Again, I hope everyone doesn't mind. In my mind, this is something that's more like a background thing, just for people to kind of sit there and watch and listen to, whether they don't know, maybe they're gaming, or maybe before bed. I don't mean, again, sorry for my social stutter, not social stutters, my verbal tics. My verbal tics not the right word either. Sorry, my verbal stuff, the ums, uhs, as I'm trying to, in my mind, think of what I want to say. I'm also sorry if I'm talking too quickly. I don't want to leave awkward pauses or air. I'm really afraid to have this awkward pause. I might be speaking too quickly. Again, I apologize for that. You can probably just slow down the video. And that'll do the trick. Like I said, I'm really sorry. This obviously isn't some professionally made thing. This is just me doing it and reading off this thing and then give you my 2 cents. It's okay if you don't like that. If you were to prefer a more polished thing, like I know there are YouTube channels like r/, or the Redditor, that read these stories, that it's very much more polished. They take the time to get it taken, that they don't have the ums and the uhs. They don't have the mispronunciation of words and the stuttering or anything like that. So, like, if you like that, a more polished product, I understand. That's okay. This is the way I'm going to do it. It's very much going to be not as polished. It's going to be me just talking, reading it, and then giving my 2 cents. I may go into the comments. I may not go into the comments. I don't want to be a copy-paste of everyone else. I want to give this my own spin. And I want this to be me giving my 2 cents and entering into the conversation. And with that being said, so it's going to be a non-polished thing. Because, again, I'm not doing this as a career. This is just a fun little hobby of mine that I've chosen to take on. I'm just putting myself ready to go story and giving my 2 cents over some gameplay I record of myself. Just that sort of thing. As you can see on my channel, I upload my past streams of me just gaming. And so this is still going to be a very game-centric type of channel. It's just I might occasionally do what I did today, where I will read a story, give my 2 cents, and hopefully see if anyone likes it. I will admit, again, I do apologize that I'm rambling so much, but as you might have, I'm trying to reach a certain limit. So, a little peek behind the curtain. The 2 videos I'm going to use are going to be 2 15-minute videos, and so I'm trying to get this audio to be 30 minutes long, so I can just easily make these 2 15-minute videos fit into a combined 30-minute video, and not have to worry about messing too much with trying to trim down a video. It just makes it easier for me on the back end while I'm doing the most lightest of editing. So that's just kind of what I want to say. I have a minute left. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments if this actually goes anywhere and anyone actually sees this. This is my first attempt at reading one story. In the future, I might try and read multiple stories and keep my commentary a little bit more condensed. This was just a longer Best of Update story, so my commentary was kind of longer. Or I might just keep doing this sort of thing where I take one post, and I really just kind of analyze it and go through it and give my 2 cents on it. Again, if anyone sees this and they have a preference in how they'd like to see me do it, feel free to leave a comment, and I will add that into my decision-making process. Anyway, I'm Rex De Mortem. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you consider subscribing, liking, and leaving a comment. Have a good day.